Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. This show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Sea Wells coming at you. And today is our Week 13 recap. Week 13 is the final week of the regular season as far as SWAC football is concerned. We also have a couple playoff games that we talked about. I'm gonna recap those games. And we have two conference games on the schedule. Gonna talk about those. And now we heading into the SWAC championship game, so we got a good bit to talk about. We're gonna cover it all, and we're gonna make it happen. So with that being said, man, once I hit those socials, Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and then don't forget to hit that join button if you'd like to become a member of the channel. Otherwise, you can hit super thanks, or you can just donate to the show by going to Cash App, $ Swag Talk. Anything would be appreciated. So let's go ahead and jump right in this. We'll start off with the Benedict and Leno Ryan game. The Tigers dropped this game by a score 35-25. It was a pretty competitive game for the most part. It was 19-14 at the half. Benedict actually led this game going into the half. Before Leno Ryan scored 21 straight points to basically take control of this game. Benedict got a late touchdown to cut the score down to 10. But Leno Ryan opened up the scoring with a 29-yard run from Dwayne McGee, extra point good. Benedict would get a Reginald Harden 58-yard pass from Aeneas Dennis. Extra point was no good. 6-7 was the score at that point. Benedict would get another connection from Dennis to Harden. This time from 87 yards out. No extra point, no good. 12-7. Xavier Turner Knox would have a 4-yard touchdown run for Benedict with 13:30. For Xavier Turner Knox would get a 4-yard touchdown run for Leno Ryan with 13:32 left in the second quarter. Extra point good, 14-12. And then Caden Hyde would catch a 29-yard pass from Dennis. Extra point good, 19-14 was the score, and that will be our halftime score. With 10:06 left in the third quarter, Songa Yates, 21-yard pass from Sean White, put the Bears on top 21-19. John Godwin would catch a 26-yard pass from White to help the Bears extend their lead to 28-19. That came with 4:42 left in the third. Then with 9:42 left in the fourth quarter, Turner Knox will get a 2-yard run, extra point good, 35-19. And then Harden will catch his third touchdown pass from Dennis, this time for 36 yards out to make the score 35-21. And that will be our final score. Benedict finishes with 16 first downs, Leno Ryan 24. The Bears finished with 250 yards rushing on 42 carries, 6 yards per carry. The Tigers only 65 yards on the ground on 30 carries, 2.2 yards per carry. 3 rushing touchdowns for the Bears, none for the Tigers. Passing 310 yards for the Bears, 27-35, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. 376 yards passing for Benedict, 17-29, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. 560 yards of offense for the Bears, 77 plays, 7.3 yards per play. No fumbles. They had 8 penalties for 75 yards. 441 yards of offense for the Tigers, 59 plays, 7.5 yards per play, no fumbles. They had 6 penalties for 30 yards. The Bears averaged 47 yards per punt. The Tigers 33. 33 minutes and 40 seconds time of possession for Leno Ryan. They were 8 of 16 on third downs, 0 for 3 on fourth downs. 26-20 time of possession for the Tigers. 3 of 15 on third down and 3 of 3 on fourth down. So as you can see, third down conversions really killed this team. And the lack of a solid run game in this game really hurt them as well. 2 or 3 in the red zone for the Bears. 0 for 1 in the red zone for Benedict, as they scored all their points from big explosive plays. 5 sacks for Leno Ryan, 4 for Benedict. Bears 5 of 5 on extra points. Tigers 1 for 2, and they were also 0 for 2 on 2-point conversions. And both teams were 0 for 1 on field goals. Individually, Sean White for Leno Ryan, 27 of 35, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. Dennis, 17 of 29, 376 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 5 times. McGee had 216 yards for Leno Ryan on 21 carries, 1 touchdown, long average 10.3 yards per carry. Also, Turner Knox, 45 yards on 8 carries, 2 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. Zaire Scotland led Benedict with 8 carries for 21 yards. Also, DeAndre Duhart, 5 carries for 18 yards. Dennis, 12 carries for 17 yards. High, 2 carries for 11 yards. Keelan Parsons had 6 catches for 103 yards for the Bears. Songa Yates, 4 for 48 and a touchdown. DeAndre Lester, 7 for 42. Reginald Harden had a huge game for Benedict, 6 receptions, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. High, 6 for 102 and 1 touchdown. Leno Ryan was led by John Ross May with 11 tackles. Andre Jefferson, 2.5 tackles for loss. Percy King, 2 tackles for loss. Jefferson had 2 sacks to lead the defense. Interception went to Percy King. Benedict was led by Amari Pettis with 9 tackles. Diego Addison and Jaden Broughton each had 8 tackles apiece. Broughton and Miller had 2 tackles for loss apiece. Miller had 2 sacks to lead the defense. Interception went to Kilpatrick. So, this was, a game that Benedict had a chance to win. Leno Ryan put together a strong second half to pull away. And now the waiting game begins. Jobs are coming open. Kenneth Berry's name has been linked to a lot of jobs, or at least some people want his name to be linked to a lot of jobs. So that's the main reason why I covered this game, just so people can kind of get an idea of what kind of talent he has there. Well, what kind of things he does. I mean, it's only one game. That doesn't change the fact that this team went 11-0 for 2 straight years. That you do that, you're doing something right. So just kind of an idea of what to keep an eye on with him. The other game that we covering our other HBCU playoff game is a FCS game, and this is North Carolina Central. They took on Richmond. Came up short. The Eagles came up short in this game. They dropped this game by a score of 49-27, and really, this was one of those games where things kind of got away from the Eagles, as they they just really couldn't keep pace. But taking a look at the box score, like I said, a lot of scoring in this game, and that's kind of tough for a Richmond team that kind of struggled scoring points for a certain portion of the season. But they opened the scoring with a Nick DiGennaro 35-yard pass from Kyle Wickersham, extra point, good, 7-0. That came with 13:50 left in the first quarter. Richard would get a 1-yard run for North Carolina Central with 4:44 left in the first quarter. Extra point, no good, 7-6. Devin Smith will catch a 91-yard pass from Richard with 2 seconds left in the first quarter. Extra point, good. That made the score 13-7. With 6:47 left in the second quarter, Richard would get an 18-yard run. Extra point, good, 20-7. And with 9 seconds left in the second quarter, Nick DiGennaro, 10-yard pass from Wickersham, extra point, good. that made the score 20-14, and that would be the halftime score. With 10:07 left in the third quarter, Savon Smith will get a 14-yard touchdown run for Richmond. Extra point good, 21-20. Smith will get a 65-yard punt return, which is something that I said to look out for in the previews. He would get a 65-yard punt return for a touchdown with 29 seconds left in the third quarter, 28-20. Garcia Jr., 71-yard pass from Wickersham. That came with 13:38 left in the fourth quarter, 35-20. Richard will get a 2-yard run for North Carolina Central to bring them to within 8 at 35-27. That came with 9:54 left in the game, 6:08 left in the game. Garcia 6-yard run for the Spiders, extra point good, 42-27. And then Smith will get a 24-yard run for Richmond, extra point good, 49-27. 11 first downs for North Carolina Central, 19 for Richmond. Only 68 yards rushing for North Carolina Central, 215 for Richmond. 2.2 yards per carry for the Eagles on 31 carries. They did have the 3 rushing touchdowns. 36 carries for Richmond, 6 yards per carry. They also had 3 touchdowns. 262 yards passing for North Carolina Central, 16-28, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 291 through the air for Richmond, 16-24, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. 330 yards of offense for North Carolina Central on 59 plays, 5.6 yards per play. They fumbled once but didn't lose it. They had 3 penalties for 17 yards. 506 total offense for the Spiders, 60 plays, 8.4 yards per play. They had 1 fumble and lost it. They had 1 penalty for 10 yards. So this game only had 4 penalties for 27 yards. Not a lot of penalties in this one. Not a lot of turnovers either. Pretty clean game. 44-yard per punt average for North Carolina Central, 45.2 for Richmond. Time of possession, 31-31 for the Eagles. They were 5 of 15 on third down, 3 of 3 on fourth down. 1 of 2 on fourth down. The Spiders, 28 minutes, 29 seconds time of possession. They were 3 of 10 on third down and 1 for 2 on fourth down. Both teams were 3 of 3 in the red zone. Eagles 2 sacks, Spiders 5, 3 of 4 on extra points for North Carolina Central, 7 of 7 for Richmond. Richmond also missed a field goal. Davius Richard will go 16 of 27 passing, 261 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 4 sacks. Walker Harris 0 for 1 with a sack. Wickersham 16 of 23 passing, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked twice. Richard led the Eagles with 18 carries for 51 yards and 3 touchdowns. Smith led Richmond with 15 carries for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 4.9 yards per carry. Wickersham, 13 carries, 69 yards. He averaged 5.3 yards per carry. He had a 50-yard run in the game. Smith, 6 catches, 202 yards and 1 touchdown. Garcia, 5 for 107 for Richmond and a touchdown. Javion Griffin, 3 catches, 85 yards. DeGennaro, 4 catches, 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jaden Flaker led the Eagles with 11 tackles. Jaden Taylor had 2 tackles for loss to lead the defense. He also had 1 sack to lead the defense. Forced fumble was by Chambers. No interceptions. Richmond was led in tackles by Galloway with 11. Marlon Lewis had 3 tackles for loss. He also had 3 sacks. Interception was by Aaron Banks. So, like I said, this was a game that, Central had opportunity. They just couldn't close it out. Richmond had a couple big plays to kind of put them ahead, and they advanced in the playoffs to take on Albany. And that takes us to our 2 SWAC games on the schedule. Like I said, really light schedule at the end of the season. Turkey Day Classic and Bayou Classic to close out the SWAC regular season before the SWAC championship game. We start with the Turkey Day Classic. Alabama State jumped all over Tuskegee, 41-3. Big game scoring wise. Robert McMahon got the game basically started with an 89-yard kickoff return for the Hornets. Extra point no good, 6-0. Dylan Creech will catch a 26-yard pass from Damon Stewart. Extra point good, 13-0. Larkan Ryans will get a 27-yard field goal for Tuskegee. They kept a 9-play, 70-yard drive that took 6:11 off the clock. That made it score 13-3. Isaiah Scott will catch a 13-yard pass from Stewart. Extra point good, 20-3. And that will be our halftime score. Juwan Howell will get a 2-yard run for Alabama State with 9:08 left in the third quarter. Extra point good, 27-3. Asa Gregg, 10-yard pass from Stewart. Extra point good. That came with 14:26 left in the game. And then with 1:04 left in the game, T. Lee, 14-yard run for Bama State. Extra point good. And that made the score 41-3. Hornets finished with 18 first downs, Tuskegee 13. The Tigers 148 yards on the ground, 33 carries, 4.5 yards per carry, no touchdowns. The Hornets 137 on the ground, 28 carries, 4.9 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. 79 yards passing for Tuskegee, 9 of 20, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 179 through the air for Bama State, 11 of 17, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. 227 yards of offense for the Tigers, 53 plays, 4.3 yards per play, no fumbles. They had 6 penalties for 59 yards. 316 yards of offense for Bama State, 45 plays, 7 yards per play. They fumbled 3 times and lost 2. And they had 8 penalties for 95 yards, 30-yard average for Tuskegee. Bama State had 1 punt for 59 yards, so really good 1 punt. 33-47 time of possession for Tuskegee, 3 of 13 on third down, and they were 0 for 2 on fourth down. 26-13 time of possession for Bama State. They were 7 of 9 on third down. Really good game there. No fourth down attempts. 1-on-1 in the red zone for Tuskegee. 4 of 5 for Bama State. 2 sacks for Tuskegee. Bama State with 1. Tuskegee obviously didn't score a touchdown, so they didn't attempt the extra point. Bama State was 5 of 6 on extra points. They were 0 for 1 on field goals, and Tuskegee was 1 for 1 on field goals. Bryson Williams led the Golden Tigers with 9 completions, 20 attempts, 79 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 1 sack. Damon Stewart, 11 of 16, 179 yards with 3 touchdowns. He was sacked twice. Johnny Morris had 22 carries for 100 yards for Tuskegee, averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Zeno Morba, 5 carries, 43 yards. He averaged 8.6 yards per carry. Juwan Howell led the Hornets with 9 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7.8 yards per carry. Marcus Harris, 7 for 36. He averaged 5.1 yards per carry. Antonio Meeks led Tuskegee with 3 catches for 49 yards. Tyree Saunders, 3 catches, 72 yards for Bama State. Greg, 2 for 28 and a touchdown. Creech, 1 for 26 and a touchdown. Malik Moore led Tuskegee along with Rossi Grimes. They each had 7 tackles. Holton and Colbert each had 1 tackle for loss. Holton led the defense with 1 sack. Moore and Ramsey each had fumble recoveries. Bama State was led by Bubba Adams with 15 tackles. He also had 2 tackles for loss to lead the defense. Traquan Thomas had the sack. Interceptions went to Moore and Jackson. So, this was the kind of game that, Bama State didn't really come in focused. They came in kind of, not really feeling it. They could have, this is a game that Tuskegee probably could have caught them off guard. I'm not saying beat them, but probably one of those games that would have been a little bit closer than it should have been. But they opened up the game with an opening kickoff touchdown. And that kind of set the tone for this game. And they took care of business against Tuskegee, scored the most points they've scored all year, and closed out the season on a solid note. So big win there. Tuskegee is one of those teams that can be pesky, but Bama State took care of business there. Final game of the SWAC regular season was the Bayou Classic. Southern defeated Grambling 27-20. This was a game of 2 halves, honestly. Southern really had a lot of opportunities in the first half. Grambling kind of came alive in the second half and made it a game, and came down to the end of the game, which is kind of par for the course for the Bayou Classic. It doesn't always go that way, but you have a lot of times in this game where it will come down to a last second touchdown or a last second stop or a field goal at the end. It's one of those games, typically a game of runs. You rarely see a lot of Bayou Classics where one team just goes out and boat races the other. It happens, but it doesn't happen a lot. Miles Crawley got Grambling on the board first with a 1-yard touchdown run that came with 1:17 left in the first quarter. That capped a 13-play, 97-yard drive that took 6:57 off the clock. Grambling led 7-0. Southern would get on the board with 12:26 left in the second quarter when Darren Morris would catch an 8-yard pass for Noah Biden. Extra point good. That was a 10-play, 72-yard drive that took 3:42 off the clock, 7-7. Kendrick Grimes would get Southern back on the board with 2:01 left in the first half with a 2-yard touchdown run, 14-7. And with 32 seconds left in the first half, Grambling would get a field goal block that would be returned 68 yards by Dimitri Marcel. Extra point good, 21-7. Kendrick Grimes would get a 73-yard touchdown run for Southern with 14-11 left in the third quarter. Made extra point was no good, 27-20. Andrew Jones would get a pick six for Grambling. Extra point good, 8:26 left in the third. Tigers trail at that point, 27-14. Grambling would get a safety. Southern had a punt, and the punter put his knee down in the end zone and got a safety. 27-16. Grambling would get back on the board with 7:02 left in the game when Floyd Chalk would run a 3-yard touchdown to make the score 27-22. They went for 2. They didn't get it. And then that takes us to basically the end of this game, where Grambling had the ball again. They were able to put together some really solid drives late in this game. In the fourth quarter, they really ran the ball extremely well, and they got the ball at their own 36 with 3:59 left in the game. Chance Williams ran for 4 yards on first down. 2nd and 6 from the 40. Chance Williams ran for 15 yards to give Grambling a first down at Southern's 45. 1st and 10 from Southern 45. Williams would run for 13 yards to the 32 for another first down. Floyd Chalk will run 28 yards for Grambling down to the Southern 4. That came on 1st and 10 with 2:25 left in the game. 1st and goal, Grambling would run Dedrick Talbert up the middle for 1 yard. Then on 2nd and goal from the 3, Chalk would run up the middle for 2 yards to the Southern 1. Southern would take a timeout with 1:36 left. Miles Crawley would run for a loss of 2 yards to the Southern 3 on 3rd and goal from the 1. And then with 1:16 left in the game, Miles Crawley would try to complete a pass to Lyndon Rash, but it was broken up by Dimitri Marcel. Southern would get the ball and run the clock out and escape with a victory. Like I said, this was one of those games where both teams had their chances. Both teams hit some big plays, but Southern was able to basically withstand the brunt of it and hang on to win. 13 first downs for Southern, 25 for Grambling. 86 yards rushing for Southern, 249 for Grambling. 30 carries for Southern, 2.9 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns. 48 carries for Grambling, 5.2 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. 231 through the air for Southern, 13-26, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 183 for Grambling, 19-30, no touchdowns, 1 interception. 317 yards for Southern on 56 plays, 5.7 yards per play. They fumbled 3 times and lost 1. They had 9 penalties for 84 yards. 432 total offense for Grambling, 78 plays, 5.5 yards per play. They finished with 1 fumble and they lost it. They had 7 penalties for 40 yards, 44-yard average for Southern. Punting, 44.6 for Grambling. Southern was 3 of 10 on 3rd down, 0 for 1 on 4th down. They had the ball for 24 minutes and 45 seconds. Grambling 35-15 time of possession, 1 of 3 on 4th down, 5 of 14 on 3rd down. Southern was 2 of 4 in the red zone. They came up short twice in the first half. Grambling was 2 of 5 in the red zone. They had a field goal block and an interception in the red zone, and then the final drive they had. So neither team really did great in the red zone. Southern had 5 sacks, Grambling 2. 3 or 4 on extra points for Southern, 2 or 2 for Grambling. Southern didn't attempt a field goal. Grambling was 0 for 1 on field goals. Noah Biden got the start for Southern and went the whole game. He was 13 to 26, 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Miles Crawley, 19 to 30, 183 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. Rhymes led Southern with 18 carries for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Chunk, 22 carries, 172 yards and 1 touchdown. He averaged 7.8 yards per carry. Williams, 19 for 87. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry. August Pete led Southern with 4 catches for 118 yards. Jones and Robinson led Grambling with 5 catches each. Jones had 49 yards. Robinson had 44. Morris also had 4 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown for Southern. Southern was led in tackles by Carter, Davis, and Johnson. They each had 8. Tackles for loss, Givens, 4.5. Monroe had 1. Brown 1. Campbell 1. Lyles 1. Donald 1. Miles 1. Southern was also led in sacks by Monroe, Brown, Campbell, and Givens, and Donald each had 1 sack apiece. Forced fumble was by Cotton, recovered by Johnson. Interception went to Carter. Grambling was led by Sunday Anderson with 6 tackles. Jones and Matthews each had 5. 2 tackles for loss for Jones. Interception also went to Jones. Sacks went to Keyshawn Johnson. He had 1 sack. Anderson and Carter each had a half a sack apiece. Forced fumbles went to Lee and Jones. And like I said, Andrew Jones had an interception. David Jones had a forced fumble. Recovery by Kevin Thomas. So, like I said, this was just one of those games, man, where it was a back and forth type of thing. Southern raced out to a big lead and didn't really have a lot of production in the second half. The defense had to make a lot of plays to keep them in the game. Grambling offense got that running game going, but they ultimately came up short. But it was a pretty entertaining game, and both teams closed out their regular season with that game. So taking a look at the final regular season standings, FAMU obviously wins the East at 8-0, 10-1 overall. They won 9 games in a row. Jackson State 5-3, 7-4 overall. They've lost 1. Bama State 5-3, 7-4 overall. They won 1. Bama A&M 33-5, 5-6 overall. They won 1. Bethune-Cookman 2-6, 3-8 overall. They've lost 1. Valley 1-7, 1-10 overall. They've lost 5 in a row. Alcorn and Prairie View finished tied at 6-2, but the Panthers got the tiebreaker because they beat Alcorn earlier in the season. So they finished first at 6-2, 6-5 overall. They won 3 games in a row. Alcorn 6-2, 7-4 overall. They won 1. Southern 5-3, 6-5 overall. They won 1. Grambling 4-4, 5-6 overall. They've lost 1. Texas Southern 2-6, 3-8 overall. They've lost 1. Pine Bluff 1-7 and 2-9 overall. They won 1 game to close out their season. And our final game, as far as SWAC action goes, before we get to the Celebration Bowl, that is our SWAC championship game, and that's FAMU taking on Prairie View in Tallahassee. 2 p.m. kick Central Time, ESPN2 broadcast. Winner goes to the Celebration Bowl. We'll have a preview of that game coming at you this week. We also have our HBCU Top 10 coming on Tuesday and the point spread for this game. And we'll have our women's basketball preview dropping tomorrow evening sometime. So y'all make sure y'all continue to keep it locked in with us and rock with us. And we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.